contract for the Stumpy's Elementary School project.
I'll second.
Further discussion or comment? Rates are going up quick, so I'm not surprised there was some hustle the last few weeks to minimize the impact of the tax dollar. Hearing no other comment, all in favor of approving Andy's motion for MLC, please say aye.
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 Give you one last piece for CIP. Kind of hot off the presses. Matt did bring the fire chief up. Fire chief conditionally approved the module going where we had proposed it.
Nice.
And we actually think we can shift it without doing too much of that retaining area that we talked about. We also reached out to the planning board. We're in the process of completing their application. This is really more of a courtesy to go in, and specifically they wanted to look at the placement of the module itself in the biomass plant, if you will. So we're in the process of completing that paperwork. We'll get that to them, and then I'll ask the CIP committee to go in front of the planning board and have a conversation with them regarding the two structures. Oh, sorry, one piece. October. If they get the order in this week, they think they can get the module here by October.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We were looking at January and so forth.
Yeah,
So,
because last we talked about it every day. Get some of the infrastructure work done before the ground's frozen.
Even with the location that you made work, which is great, I think your idea from 4 years ago when you first had the idea of clearing that space out and the potential to move the playground and other things.
Right.
And then having a landing pad with the active, though fading modular, I think that's awesome that it worked out and if the town can support that. There are a lot of near future benefits to that, even
Yeah,
without the full.
Should be a big benefit.
Yeah, it's gonna be, kids aren't crossing.
if you wanted to just jump topics out of order, the SPTO fundraiser falls right in line to the previous conversation. One of the things I know at the CIP committee we talked about was potentially this next project, with the help of the SPTO, could be the transition of the parking lot and the playground, or the parking lot and the playground.
Right.
So it makes a lot of sense to us, again, why we put the module where we did. If we can get some donations from SPTO, we give them a cause, we give them a sort of a target. To me, the next major safety piece would be to flip those two.
Yeah.
Right? Let's get the parking lot in front of the school, let's get the playground to the side of the school. We'd have to ask somebody to come in to give us a scope of work and what that looks like, but I think when we meet with the SPTO and the CIP committee, I think that would be a great target for us to give to them, to help them sort of organize and fundraise, while we go do some legwork if the board agrees that that's potentially a next project for the next year. Years.
A lot of potential.
Yep.
I think a lot of community interest in something tangible, safety-based, but playground is a more straightforward thing to consider. That sounds good. Town and school summer programs.
Tara and Mindy, I believe, might be talking about this.
So, as you know, every year, we're obligated to provide extended school year programming for students in the school district. Last year, we had the opportunity to partner with Sunapee Rec. In a very minimal capacity, we used the rec program to support some of our students' summer program. This year, the town, the library, and the district came together to talk about what kind of opportunities could children in this district benefit from if we pooled our resources. And so we've been working pretty diligently under a pretty tight time frame to pull some things together. The town rec program runs, I think, 9 weeks. Sunapee extended school year program for the school district is going to attend 4 of those weeks at camp. And so we're combining some training, we're combining some resources, transportation, which we provided last year. I think this is a really exciting opportunity for us, and it means some shifts for all of us, but I think they're all headed in the right direction. It's really, the program will be more enrichment based. We'll have themes each week. It'll still be based out of Sherburne Gym, that's the plan at this point. Students will visit the library for some of the library programs that are going on. They'll continue to do some off-site activities, going to the beach, as well as getting some substantive enrichment that is education-based, all while doing it in a real typical summer recreational experience for kids. So we're super excited to be partnering with both other agencies. I think there's lots of benefits that will come from the collaboration that's happening.
That's great.
Is there somebody directing that program now?
So Steve Burke is recreation coordinator. They're in the process of hiring a director for the summer camp.
Yep.
John Reed has been sitting on the committee. Mindy has been sitting on the committee. I've been on the committee, as has Shannon, town manager. So it's kind of full steam ahead trying to get ramped up to get the summer started.
That's great.
Can I just ask a question on why they're talking about moving from Dewey to George's Mills? Do you know that reason?
I guess, and so forgive me, this is a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, but I'll try to answer the question. As I understand it, there were large influxes of kids when there were a lot of community members already at the beach. And it became difficult to manage, and there were complaints about just sheer volume of people that were there. I think there are some safety reasons why the Georges Mills Beach might be a better option, given that it's far more shallow. It's the way in which it's roped in. There aren't barriers from being able to see students in the water, or children. Sorry, bad habit, in the water. So there's a couple of different reasons, and I'm not sure that decision's been final, but it's certainly something we've talked about exploring.
Just for the safety on the other end, it just struck me odd because it's such an active place with boat rentals and people fishing and cars coming in and turning around in the parking lot. I just had some concerns seeing that, but I'm sure you'll work those out.
Yeah, and again, it's all of this stuff you have in front of you is really draft. We're learning as we go. We're all working really diligently to try to understand all of the different aspects and support the community in the best way we can.
I think it's really cool. I mean, I was, a proponent of doing it last year. I think it was a great way to partner with the, with the rec department. Just anecdotally, I think there's a lot of room to grow and improve on the program, but certainly the popularity of it seems to be there. So it's a need that we can help to serve, which I think is just a great overall community effort.
Mindy, did you have anything else that you wanted to speak back on?
You know what? I say no and I say no, so I guess yes. I just want to make the point that I think this is a really wonderful example of the sum of the parts being greater than anybody, a project being greater than the sum of its parts. We've all brought different experience, professional experience to the table, and I think it's going to be an experience that is greatly improved for everyone, for the Y kids and for the campers. And I just want you to know that your staff, in the form of Tara and John, have done a huge lift. They have created a structured schedule for the camp. They have just brought that enrichment eye to the experience, and it's been fantastic. I'm excited that the library is able to be a small part of the collaboration, and we're excited to welcome lots of bright and shining faces to the library every Tuesday, and Thursdays we'll have campers for story hour. So be great.
Awesome.
With permission to speak maybe a little more frankly, just for me as a community member, that you, Mindy, John are involved, and there's a cross collaboration is a huge relief, having had some exposure and getting a lot of great concern from the community about what happened with the rec department last year. Some elements, I'm not sure if this is an appropriate term, wilding and complete, like what happened at Sanctuary Farm and all those other events that got out of control. So it is a relief, and it will be a relief as this gets more more refined, and the community is communicated to the community that these entities working together, and particularly adding your attachment to the community for both of you is a huge relief, because I'm really surprised nobody got hurt last year with how some of the incidents happened, where not enough parental presence or authority presence, and there were some close calls. Is that an okay way to say it?
Adult supervision, sure.
Adult supervision, I couldn't get to it, never would have gotten to it. But there were some real close calls that were deeply concerning because of the school board approving the space use for a variety of things I want to get into. So the idea that this abruptly we're going in a positive cross-community way with the right influencers and pillars of the community is a huge relief to me, because I was very curious what was going to be talked about with this. Stepping forward to similar topic I was holding for this agenda item, I wasn't actually sure how this works. I got a great, I talked to somebody in the community who wants to pursue potentially an after-school program and supporting that. And so I wasn't completely sure on policy, but with her concern is that the Camp Coniston is difficult to staff for 2 hours after school, which in a different hiring economy used to be kind of a norm that we were used to. Is it best to just, do you need something from the board? It's something that it feels like it's your superintendent's jurisdiction. I'll connect you with the volunteer in the community that's interested. Is that fair?
Yes, I've already had 2 individuals reach out to me last week about starting something similar, so.
Okay.
We have not had any official word. My understanding it's on YMCA's website that they are not intending to run anything next year as well.
Yeah, that was the concern.
I haven't heard anything official, but that is what we've been told.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure. I didn't feel like it was in our, but I thought it was great that the community members even exploring that, and I wanted the board to know about it. So if you connect, you might have already talked to them, but you and I can talk after, and I'll send you the email. But I thought that was wonderful. So I appreciate the high community engagement and the opportunity that we have. Special education talking points.
So, Russ and I have both been approached by our associations, our associations have both been approached by Drummond and Woodson, who is one of the firms that represents us as a school district. There's currently a case, Farrell versus New Hampshire DHHS, which is Department of Health and Human Services, that is in the courts. It's been ruled on essentially against DHHS. And so we have been asked as a school district to consider supporting a letter, Friends of the Court letter. And so let me tell you what that's all about. This case essentially entails students who haven't graduated from school. They may have been in foster care, they could have been in the juvenile justice system, but at 18, those services end, regardless of the status of that child, adult at that point. So DHHS has taken the position that if the student is special ed and does not have a high school diploma, that it becomes the school district's responsibility to provide residential care in the event that they don't have anywhere to live. Couple of problems with that. The first one is liability and responsibility. It is not a school district's responsibility to provide housing for a person because they essentially were kicked out of wherever they might have been staying. And that sounds callous or harsh maybe. It's not intended to be, but I think there are larger consequences and there's some major liabilities that go along with school districts being then responsible for housing of an adult. The next piece is, this is essentially a downshifting in costs, right? DHHS is paid for through state funds. If they say, no, we're not responsible for it, the school district is responsible for it, then the local the school district and local funds would have to pay for that residential or housing situation. And I think not the most important one, but maybe one of the more significant one is we could have a student who's in foster care. It was a great match. They were in the foster home, went to the public school system, were functioning perfectly well in the public school system. That's what we call least restrictive environment. They are amongst their peers to the greatest extent possible. If you then say a school district is responsible for taking care of housing for that student, you're really looking at a residential placement, which is not a least restrictive environment. You're then placing them in a facility, likely in a facility, because we wouldn't want to place in a home or an apartment. That doesn't seem like a good idea. And then that's not the least restrictive environment, which is what special ed is, the premise of, is that you always want students or children or young adults to be in the least restrictive environment possible. Finally, so we've been asked as a school district to sign on in support of this Friends of the Court letter, which I would strongly encourage you to do. There is a financial component. It's somewhere between $500 and $1,000. It's really up to us. The $500, this isn't something that happens all the time. Full disclosure, it doesn't happen super frequently. We're not talking about this happening in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, maybe 10 years. But when it happens, if you're taking on that responsibility of an 18-year-old, that could be $300,000 a year. So 18, 19, 20, 21, minimally 4 years at $300,000 a year. So $500 here is pretty short money when you consider what the potential outcome is. Again, rarity, it may never hit us, but if it does hit us, it would be a major expense for the district and a major liability for the district, which is very concerning. I'm hoping that all made sense.
Yeah, it was effective.
Okay. Questions?
So when I was reading through this that you sent, I guess I understood, well, and maybe I just misunderstood, but I understood that currently, are we required to provide up to 21 for STEAM?
We're responsible to provide special education up to the age of 21.
Right.
Yes.
And so they're talking about raising that even higher.
They are talking about raising that higher, which is,
Legislation's on the table and been passed, and ought to pass the House to bring that to 22. The exact wording of that, whether it's on the 22nd birthday or within the school year, I don't think it's
it
been
is, so
amended.
the House and the Senate both had bills. They have aligned their bills, so the wording is, they can stay in school till the end of the school year on the year they turn 21. So if somebody turns 21 in June, they would stay, in January, they would stay through June. It had been until your 22nd birthday, but they cut that back. That will not go into effect, assuming it passes, and I think it will, till July 21, 2023.
And so this has been shot down at the Superior Court level, but it's now going to the Supreme Court.
level,
And
yes.
so this effort,
Several other districts have already signed on and contributed. And so there's a push sort of statewide to say, join the Friends of the Court letter in one way or the other to support this, because it really can be a very large expense. And expense aside, I always get a little concerned about talking about expense. Talking about putting a young adult into a situation where we're providing an extremely restrictive setting for them. It's an institution. right? We've tried to get away from institutionalizing. It flies in the face of everything special ed stands for. And it's unfortunate because I think there are things that can be done, but DHHS.
This is unfortunate because DHHS has already been, it's been ruled against them, that they are not allowed to do this. This is the DHHS, now the state, if you will, pushing back to push again unfunded mandate back to the local district of substantial impact to a local district. So think about $300,000 unexpected to our budget over the course of 4 years. Significant. We're talking almost 2% of an increase just with that
Just one.
potential one student. This is an opportunity. It doesn't guarantee us from anything. What it does is it allows legal to go back at and defend and come in with some hard evidence from districts supporting the court finding to stand in its finding and not overturn the finding in favor of pushing this back down. So there's no guarantee, but this has to go through the legal process. I support Tara's recommendation that we should sign on to this. Just, if this came to fruition and we were hit, again, think about $300,000 to our budget in a year that we weren't expecting it. It has a big impact.
I'm not sure that it's actually required on a motion on the board, but I'm making a motion that we support with $1,000.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? Questions? I think we have to lend some money, or we have to lend our name and reputation to the other districts that are stepping forward on this. All in favor of being a friend of support and $1,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you for the careful description. It goes against everything that special education is about, beyond other factors that are wrong with it. Disturbing about it. We're going to move on to manifest. I'm looking for a motion for AP manifest, and we'll do a second round for payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve AP manifest 2022-17, $117,586.34. 2022-18, $61,201.59. 2022-19, $130,040.99.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor of approving the AP manifest as noted by Ed, please say aye.
Aye.
Round two, you're warmed up, you want to go?
I'll make a motion to approve payroll manifest 2022-19, $524,381.42. 2022-19.1, $301.95. 2022-20, $422,289.24. 2022-20.1, $882.84.
Well noted, seconded.
I'll second that
You look
motion.
like you're itching for a second. Comments, questions, being no motion, all in favor of approving the payroll manifest as noted by Ed, please say aye.
Aye.
Next, only things that are highly predictable, the school board chair suggestion and other board members. Update on CIP for next meeting, progress with completion of the loan process, the 3.1 with MLC. Student update, we'd love to get maybe an extended version around how sports are doing, how, the prom, graduation prep, how the senior projects, going back to the good old days, we're actually doing them in here. So you'll have lots of things to do. And for Sean?
Yeah, actually, I will also hopefully be able to have our final New England Association of School and Colleges report. So
Awesome.
it has been completed. It's been sent to me already, but they haven't taken the formal vote. Well, actually, they have taken the formal vote, but they haven't notified us. So the plan would be to have that full report to you for the next meeting.
That's great.
Potentially some presentation as well.
Yeah, so I think those are the big topics. Other things, anything else from the board, and then start to Russ? Those are sort of our big hitters. Russ?
You'll be asked to look at the business plan for the school store. You mentioned CIP update. We'll have hopefully personnel new hires. They'll be asked to information on federal general insurances, staff info for recommendations for hire for the next year, and as Sean just reported me as.
So we're all on the same page. All right, things come up, we'll add them. Looking for a motion to close the meeting at 7:23 on April 6th.
Make the motion to close the meeting.
Second.
That's always your favorite second. All in favor to close the meeting at 7:23, April 6th? In favor? Aye. Good night, thank you for attending, appreciate the engagement of this community.